And that's not the only time, and he moved over to Truth Social. Robert De Niro, whose acting talents have greatly diminished, with his reputation now shot, must even use a teleprompter for his foul and disgusting language.
It's funny, I was just thinking that he actually became president. He could have done good things. Instead, he had to do it all wrong. I'm tired of calling him names. He just can't be anywhere near the office of the presidency.
In all fairness to the former president, is that true? Do you have to use a teleprompter when speaking about President Trump?
Robert De Niro just called Trump a wannabe dictator on national TV, and Trump's supporters are losing their minds. The same guy who had a 5-second cameo in Home Alone 2 is now being compared to Hitler by one of Hollywood's most legendary actors. But here's the real question. Is De Niro actually right? Could Trump really become America's first dictator? Or is this just another celebrity having a political meltdown? Let's break down the funniest and most brutal moments from De Niro's Trump takedown that has the internet buzzing. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Ever wonder what happens when one of Hollywood's toughest guys decides to verbally punch a former president? It's like watching a mob movie, except the takedown is real, and the target is the former commander-in-chief. Robert De Niro didn't just criticize Trump, he absolutely demolished him with words sharper than the knives in Goodfellas.
Both been immortalized on social media by our former president, Donald Trump.
Yeah.
We have, I think this might have been the first time he wrote about you.
It's funny, I was just thinking that he actually became president. He could have done good things. Instead, he had to do it all wrong.
By real boxers in movies. I watched him last night. Truly believe he may be punch drunk. And then he says, at the end, he says, "Wake up, punchy," he says.
What made this moment so powerful wasn't just what De Niro said, but who was saying it. This is a guy who spent decades playing characters that make people shake in their boots. When the man who portrayed Jake LaMotta and Travis Bickle speaks, people listen. And boy, did they listen this time. Standing there with the intensity that made him famous, De Niro unleashed a comparison that had the crowd roaring. "I spent my career playing tough guys, guys with power, guys who earned respect," he said, before delivering the knockout punch, calling Trump just another grubby real estate hustler masquerading as a big shot. Ouch, that's gotta sting worse than getting whacked in a mob film. The audience went absolutely wild when De Niro compared his prestigious career to Trump's brief Hollywood moment. I've got Oscars. He's got a cameo in Home Alone 2 where he asks a kid for directions and somehow still manages to look lost. At that point, people literally jumped to their feet applauding. I mean, comparing multiple Academy Awards to a forgettable cameo where Trump basically played himself? That's like comparing a 5-star meal to a gas station hot dog. What really sold the moment was De Niro's face during the speech. He wasn't just reciting lines, he was bringing that trademark De Niro glare, the same one that's intimidated audiences for decades. The man who made "You Talking to Me" famous wasn't playing around, and you could see it in every wrinkle of his expression. This wasn't an act. This was genuine De Niro rage on full display. Even when faced with hecklers, De Niro didn't back down.
And that's not the only time, and he moved over to Truth Social. Robert De Niro, whose acting talents have greatly diminished, with his reputation now shot, must even use a teleprompter for his foul and disgusting language.
You've played a lot of bad guys. Would you ever play Donald Trump?
Never. There's nothing about him, there's not one redeeming thing in him that I can see, ever.
In all fairness to the former president, is that true? Do you have to use a teleprompter when speaking about President Trump?
When one Trump supporter had the nerve to call Capitol officers traitors, De Niro's response was swift and fierce. "They stood there and fought for us, for you. They fought for you, buddy. You're able to stand right here now. They are the true heroes." The heckler went quiet real fast. Turns out, it's not so easy to stand up to Travis Bickle in real life. The internet practically melted down afterward. Memes comparing De Niro's tough guys to Trump's reality TV persona flooded social media with hashtags like #DeNiro versus Trump trending everywhere.
Robert De Niro, a very low IQ individual, has received he spelled two wrong, many shots to the head.
I don't think they really understand. And historically, from what I see, even in Nazi Germany, they had it with Hitler.
Does it give you some sense, not of joy, but of relief at least, that he's potentially facing some consequences? Because, as you've said before, this guy's a con artist, and he's gotten away with it for years.
Even Wendy's got in on the action with a spicy tweet. "We season our beef. De Niro just served his raw." When a fast food chain is dunking on you, you know you've had a bad day. Trump's team tried to punch back, with campaign advisor Jason Miller dismissing De Niro as a washed-up actor and promising his remarks would be shorter than The Irishman. Nice try, but comparing the length of your remarks to a Martin Scorsese masterpiece isn't exactly the sick burn they thought it was. That's like bragging that your stick figure drawing won't take as long as the Mona Lisa. What really struck a chord with people wasn't just the celebrity factor, it was the authenticity behind De Niro's words. Here's a man who's portrayed power on screen for decades, warning Americans about the real thing. When he delivers lines about losing freedoms with that mobster intensity, it hits differently than when politicians say the same thing.
Look at the lame, inane things that he said. He's so stupid, he can't even say anything clever or smooth.
I'm tired of calling him names. He just can't be anywhere near the office of the presidency. He's so, as we all know, so narcissistic and self-centered.
It's like getting advice about fire safety from someone who's actually been burned. Late-night hosts couldn't get enough of the moment, turning De Niro's takedown into monologue gold for days afterward. Celebrities piled on too, amplifying the moment across social media and turning what could have been just another political speech into a cultural touchpoint in the ongoing battle between Trump and his critics. What's really interesting here is how Americans feel about democracy these days. The polls show many folks are worried about threats to our political system, but they're super divided on whether celebrities should be talking about it. Some people cheer when De Niro speaks up, while others roll their eyes at another Hollywood type giving political opinions. But maybe the messenger isn't what matters. Whether it's coming from a legendary actor or your neighbor next door, warnings about losing democratic freedoms deserve attention. De Niro's background playing characters who understand power gives his warning extra punch. He spent decades showing us what happens when power gets abused. In the end, it's not about whether you love or hate De Niro. It's about whether we're paying attention to the warning signs around us. Maybe a scary wake-up call is exactly what America needs right now, even if it comes from a guy who's usually just pretending to be scary on screen.